Good morning and welcome to the Sport for Business Daily. We've got a double header this morning. We're joined by Sene Naoupu, our Irish rugby international and star of Leinster, and by Aidan as well, who is a dancer, a guard, an All-Ireland winner, and for today, for one day only, well, maybe a little bit longer than that, a brand ambassador for Ireland Active and the National Fitness Day. It's taking place on September the 24th. You're both very welcome to Sport for Business this morning.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Sene, if I can start with you, you've appeared on a number of events that we've hosted over the course of what has been the strangest of years, and it's shaping up into being a strange winter and spring for you now at the moment as well. What's the rugby calendar look like in the women's game as we stand at the moment?
Yeah, it's nice to see you again, Rob. Certainly a strange time for everyone, not just us athletes, but a really exciting time too. We're very, very fortunate. We're well aware that we're lucky to be back from a training point of view, and with these games lined up, 5 internationals. So we have two Six Nations games to be played at the end of October, and then 3 World Cup qualifier games in December. So she's shaping up to be a very busy, few months for us. All going well. Those games will line up, and we'll just make sure that we're very strict and vigilant on our, COVID protocols and how we manage that through trainings.
Sure. Rugby in particular, amongst most of the sports, is always very conscious of the attritional nature that it has on the body. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in terms of general fitness. But those 3 World Cup games back to back in December, as you say, coming off of the back of the Guinness Six Nations, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, but it'll be tough for everyone, and it'll be tough even if there wasn't COVID. So a great challenge for all of us. The 2 games of the Six Nations left to be played will be an excellent opportunity for us to sharpen the saw and fine-tune a few things that we need to practice and execute leading up to December. Certainly a challenge, but look, we're process-focused at the moment, like we have been for many years now, and after a pleasing start to the campaign at the start of this year, we need to build ourselves to a point where we carry on that momentum, and again, as I mentioned, fine-tune some things we need to fix.
Great. December is going to be a key time in Gaelic Games as well, as it has been over the last number of weeks and months where we've had the club scene very much the focus, and then we'll be switching back into inter-county. But we got a glimpse of what the season has been like so far last week with AIB's Toughest Summer, a documentary which starred Aidan. What was it like to look back on yourself in that context? So away from the sequins and away from the green and gold, this was in your Garda uniform. But how did it feel?
It felt great, Rob, because I think people were critical over the last couple of years did I do any work, so it was actually nice to kind of put an answer to those questions, those queries, to actually see me in the uniform. I think most of the messages I got was that it's actually nice to do a bit of work. But it was actually emotional watching it back. I think it's like the famous cliche, and when something is gone from you, you don't miss it until it is actually taken away from you. And from the GA, I suppose we that ethos built on community, and when you grow up and the people that are involved in you and the people that kind of nourish you and bring you through to your clubs, and then if you're lucky to go on and represent your county, and just watching that show then, and just seeing the whole lockdown, and the football fields empty, and you've no laughter or the sound of kids week in, week out, where I just see now, just being involved coaching underage and stuff, where Saturday mornings parents dropping off their kids, and that kind of sheer sounding of excitement of young kids coming into the field, and there's no talk about skills or anything, and they're just running around, and all of a sudden you're just seeing locks on gates and gyms closed, and it was surreal to watch it. And I suppose the emotional side of them was looking at the J in all sports and how they've gotten involved in the communities and the work they were doing, and visiting vulnerable people and dropping medicine and shopping after people that couldn't come in and do their usual. So the whole norm had gone out the window, and I suppose you're seeing people then that they live for sports and they live for just getting out for a few hours during the day, and all of a sudden that's taken away from them. So it was just very strange times, and just to watch it back then, it was very emotional. Even being a member of Garage Síochána, like I said in other interviews there, where you're walking down the middle of Tralee at 12 o'clock on a Thursday and a Friday, and there's no one around, or you're standing at a checkpoint, and for 4 or 5 hours nobody comes up to you in a car. Where usually on a Friday evening, it's jammers packed and there's back-to-back gridlock, coming out to town. Next, all of a sudden, there's nobody around, and you can hear a pin drop inside in Tralee town. They're just times that you don't want to go back to. The eeriness of it, and just that whole kind of uncertainty is just so strange and so surreal.
It has. It's been a year that we could never have imagined. The club GAA scene, though, has really taken a burst of life as a result of this. All of a sudden, having the summer so that we can play our games. I'm involved myself. We were at our Coola senior ladies won the Dublin Intermediate final over in Swords at the weekend, and it was brilliant to be there. But it was very challenging because there were none of the parents and none of the teammates and the friends that had grown up. Have you been involved in the club championships down in Kerry over the summer?
I have. I've been very lucky, actually. I captained our club team this year. So I don't know, they're trying to give me a message that we'll give you the captaincy for this year to see will you actually retire at the end of the year. But it was nice. I still believe I'm one of the young lads. So it was actually nice to be back. During the lockdown, it was tough, where you had no pitches to go on, so you're running roads and you're doing Zoom calls out the back of houses and anywhere you could find. And just getting back into the whole club scene then, it was amazing. And especially with your inter-county players then as well. We're lucky we've Paul Murphy and Shane Ryan, and they brought that level of training up to a new level again. And just having everyone back there, I think, the first night back where you've 20 or 30 players and, people were just walking in and walking on the grass. It was just, they were kind of savouring the moment that, look, we're back here now and we'll never take it for granted again. And, obviously there's been changes over the last couple of weeks where, crowds haven't been allowed into games, and next you were seeing people up on top of cherry pickers and, JCBs trying to look in over trees and watch the games. And I think from a player's point of view, it's just great to be back on the pitch, and irrelevant of, I suppose, supporters and stuff. It's always great to have the support there, but even just taking that away from it, just being back out on the pitch and, being able to play again with your, I suppose, people you grew up with, we're just happy enough to have that at the moment, Rob.
It has been really important, and it's important as well from the mental perspective, but also from the physical perspective. And that sense of physical fitness is something which obviously the National Fitness Day is going to address. I'm clinging on to my career as a Gaelic footballer in Gaelic for Dads, but that's proving to be incredibly difficult. But there are lots of us out there who will not ever achieve the level of fitness and the level of dedication that the two of you have put into this. But where is a good place to start? Because having a day which is strictly put in the calendar there as being a start point for a career to fitness, what would you recommend? Sene, first of all, what would you recommend as being a good way to become more active if you are a little active, or to actually just take that first step if it's been a few years?
Yeah, I'm not laughing, I'm smiling, because we should all be experts at being active over the last number of months, having had the opportunity to get out and about. But certainly that's such a great point. I absolutely would encourage just to get out and walk. I myself had to even do that probably about 4 weeks now. Just start with a slow walk, and then you can build into whatever it is that you want to build into. But a nice wee stroll will get you up and out and active. I'd say Aidan has some fantastic practical tips as well.
Well, we all come from a team background, so we're kind of used to that idea of physical exercise being in a collegiate sort of an environment. But for most people, if they want to actually sort of get back out there, they're going to be starting on their own. So what would you say, Aidan, if there was somebody that was coming up to the club now that wouldn't necessarily want to be playing hardball, senior football, but just wanted to start to get active?
Yeah, like I've seen Rob, even when I finished, we'll say, even into the county level, I decided to take up new sports that might be a bit of madness as well. But I started running the road doing 10Ks. I remember everyone always said to me, look, if you're playing sport, you can run a 10K or you can run a 5K. I just think for most people that, especially the last couple of months, I think it's shown us that, you know, you need to get out of the house. Your mental health it's huge at the moment. You know, there's been, I suppose, so much, you know, like we're misfortunate in some of the last couple of months, you know, people losing jobs and, you know, everything that's being going around COVID, that you need to find some bit of solace. And I just think fitness is key. And it's like, as Sene said there, whether it's getting out for a walk and getting out for a jog, it's about starting something new. And, you know, people will always say, well, that's fine for him to be saying that because he's doing this and that. Like I took up open water swimming there 2 months ago, and the reason I started doing it is exactly the question you've asked me. It's something I would never see myself doing. I have a fear of water. I have 2 little girls at home now. I have a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and I just said to myself, you know, down the line, it's important that you can go into the water with them. So I started getting lessons in Phoenix, and the great thing about Phoenix, it's a beautiful area. Next to you have a whale about 3 foot in off the water. That's myself trying to splash about and pretend I know what I'm doing. And for me, I suppose the hardest part was my instructor was telling me one day, you know, we're going to swim out here 100 meters. And I knew that if I swam out 100 meters, there'd be no touching the toes off the ground. There'd be a couple of 20 or 30 feet underneath me. And I was telling myself, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And eventually I kind of broke the back where he said to me, look, you're going to do it now or you're not. And I think that something like that for me, I suppose coming from a team sport and being involved in sport and fitness, that there's always a kind of a hurdle and obstacle that we see in front of us that you just need to overcome, whether it's walking, running, jogging, anything you play, whatever sport you are, it's just getting out there and facing your fear and just going after it.
And I always like the idea that comparison is the enemy of joy, that you should really only be looking to compete against yourself. And the phrase that no matter how slow you're going quicker than the one who's sitting at home on the couch. So September the 24th, key date in the diary, circle it now. And thanks very much to Sene and to Aidan for joining us this morning to give a little insight into how they think that we could all be getting out and getting more fit. So thank you very much, Sene and Aidan.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob, for having us.